So I'm sitting here with the amazing, legendary Don Scott, who's running to be Ward 1 City Councillor here in Fort McMurray. Tell me a little bit about your background, because you were one of the most educated, intelligent people I know. Give me a bit about your education. How did that start?
Sure. I went to school in New Brunswick. I'm an Easterner by background. Neither one of my parents went to university. My father and mother were determined to make sure that I went to university. I wouldn't say I was the greatest student in high school, but when I was nearing the end of high school, I got into philosophy at the University of New Brunswick, and I took philosophy of religion. And it's something that I felt passionate about. It really influenced everything I did. By that time, I was getting incredibly good marks. Then I decided I was going to do something unusual. I decided I was going to apply to law school, and I was going to apply to car mechanic school at the same time. I have no idea why. It was just something that occurred to me that I should give a try. I got into law school, but I got rejected from car mechanic school. I've never forgotten that.
Do you tinker with cars or change oil?
Not at all. I think that's one of the things I've always loved to learn. And I had no idea how to do it. And I thought, oh, this will be a great way to do it. People will always ask me why I do so much. And it's because I have an insatiable appetite to learn and to expand my knowledge. Although I've never learned how to fix cars or anything else in my entire life.
Where were you accepted to law school?
That was the University of New Brunswick had a law school there, and that's where my parents were living. And I think we were all pretty happy that I got in. I remember the day I got the call. I was cooking soup for my mother. I got the call that I was in law school. I remember it was the most overwhelming feeling of my life. I felt like it had been my destiny, because one thing I didn't mention is when I was in about grade 5, or really, really young, and I remember this very clearly, everyone in my grade 5 class was asked what they wanted to be. And a lot of people were saying fireman, policeman, astronaut. It was all over the place. I remember very clearly I said a judge. That was always my dream. And I remember that clearly, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go to law school, not only because I had an insatiable desire to learn and understand the law, but I wanted to someday hopefully become a judge.
So you went to England. How did that happen?
Yeah, I graduated from law school several years later, a few years later. I clerked at something called the New Brunswick Court of Appeal, which is the highest court in New Brunswick. And there was a person that I worked for who became one of my close mentors and friends. His name was Justice Hoyt. His name was Bill Hoyt. He went to Cambridge, and he said, Don, I'd like you to consider applying to Cambridge. And this will sound unusual. I didn't know a lot about Cambridge. I'd heard of Harvard and Oxford, but I didn't understand what Cambridge was to the extent that I certainly do now. Put in my application and just hoped for the best. I'd never really been outside of Canada much before then. So this idea of someone from New Brunswick who I couldn't even get into car mechanic school, suddenly going to Cambridge seemed like an untenable, unreachable, unfathomable goal. As the year went on, I was really excited. I was kind of waiting to find out if I got in. And I got in. And as soon as I got in and I started telling people, hey, I'm going to Cambridge next year, people's jaws dropped. And I remember one of my professors at the time, she went and said, I can't believe it. I've taught somebody who's going to Cambridge. She was so excited to go tell other people.
So what exactly did you take at Cambridge?
Yeah, I took a wide variety of classes, but it was mainly to do with international law. That's what I was really interested in at the time. But I took a variety of courses. I took copyright law.
So it's sort of a place where you beefed up your law degree and kind of expanded on that and got more specific into your craft. Is that kind of what Cambridge did?
That's exactly what it did. But I had kind of an unusual Cambridge experience in that at the same time I went to Cambridge, my boss, Justice Hoyt, was appointed to something called the Bloody Sunday Inquiry, which a lot of people have not heard of in Canada. I hadn't heard of it. There were 2 inquiries. The first inquiry happened a long, long time ago in the 70s, and it was to do with Northern Ireland. And the people of Northern Ireland were never completely satisfied with the result. So the British government called a second inquiry, and the judge I mentioned earlier, Justice Hoyt, he was invited to be one of the 3 judges who were the judges for the second inquiry. And I was asked to be part of that team. And what I discovered when I was over there is they love Canadians. The advantage Canadians had over there is we were seen as neutral. Anyone who's been to Northern Ireland will understand there's been some challenges there over many, many years. We were seen as, I think in my own view, as coming in and trying to uncover the truth of what happened at an event where protesters were killed far earlier. And I was honored beyond belief to be part of that inquiry. And the one thing I can say is that I'd never been to Ireland, let alone Northern Ireland, before that. But I was one of the people who was sent to Ireland a lot. So I spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland, and I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot, and some of my fondest memories are of the time I spent in Ireland. It was a great experience, and I love the people of Ireland, and I love the experience of working on that inquiry. And Justice White means the world to me. And the other judges who were on that inquiry were simply amazing. I was working with brilliant people the entire time.
You were there for how many years in England?
Yeah, I was there for approximately 2 years. And so I graduated from Cambridge, and I wasn't sure where to go in the world. I was totally uncertain. But in the meantime, I'd met a young lady, and she'd never seen snow before. And we talked about where in the world should we go. And I really was uncertain. A long, long time before that, I had applied to Syncrude. And I had a friend at the time who had moved to Fort McMurray. And he had written me letters and emails encouraging me to come and join him in Fort McMurray. The way I met my wife was that I was going to Cambridge, and she was also there. We got together, fell in love, and went and got married, and it was a big wedding, and then found our way to Fort McMurray, even though my wife now had never been there. Moved to Fort McMurray, and almost immediately upon arriving, it snowed. And my wife, Janie, couldn't believe it. So that was quite the experience.
What was your first job here in Fort McMurray?
I was working as a lawyer downtown in Fort McMurray. That's something I really, really enjoyed. When I first moved here, I had great mentors. I got to say that. I had a tremendous number of mentors. A few of them have passed away since, but I really learned a lot.
So you got a job as a lawyer, and then what happened?
Ultimately, I ended up working with a lawyer who was a mentor called Harvey Mills. Many people will know him. He passed away. He's somebody who embraced me, took me under his wing, taught me everything I needed to understand about the law. I really loved Harvey. Very sad the day he passed away. But he had talked to me about getting involved in public service. It's something I had never really considered in my life until that time. I wasn't sure what to do, but another lawyer in town named Stafford Gorsalitz called me up one day and said, "Would you join the United Way board?" And I thought, this is something that I've been encouraged to try. Why don't I just go give it a shot and see what this is like? And then I discovered that that's actually one of my passions, is public service. Getting involved in the community, trying to make it better. And I served on the United Way board for many, many years, and eventually became the president of the United Way, a time when we were doing really, really well as the United Way, and I was so proud to be the president. And then since then, I've joined many boards, but that was my first, and probably everything I learned, I credit a lot of it back to that being on that board, where I learned how people can get along and get things done.
We'll kind of jump ahead a little bit. So why do you care about politics so much?
Yeah, I've always been instinctively drawn to politics since I've started my public service. And I was not interested in politics when I was young. This was something that developed later in life. I always had a passion to try to help people. I remember when I was asked why I went to law school, the professor was asking different people, and everyone had different answers. Some wanted to get rich, some wanted to do various things. My answer was that I want to help people, and I've always believed in that. And I think that's driven everything I've ever done. And the reason that I love politics is it's a real frontline opportunity to help people. So I really believe in service. I really believe in getting out there. And I just saw an opportunity to help others. I'm always excited to run. I love democracy and I love the way it works. But I really believe in getting out there and doing your best. And hopefully the people embrace the message that you're trying to share.
You have two girls. What was it like raising those two girls in Fort McMurray?
It was amazing. I guess we all look back on our lives and wish we'd spent more time with our kids, because time flies by. I would encourage anyone who is in the early stages of having children, spend a lot of time with their kids because time flies by. My older daughter's in university now. My youngest daughter is in grade 12. It's amazing. Time just goes by so quickly. I love bringing up my kids in this community. I've had a lot of great experiences, and so have they. They've really enjoyed it here, and they had a great upbringing here. Fort McMurray, I truly believe it, is the best place in the world. There is no better place to live. There's no better place to raise a family. There's no better place of opportunity than right here. I've always said that Fort McMurray has a short ladder. It's absolutely true. If somebody moves here without a lot of experience, this is the place to come because it has everything.
Why are you running for city council?
There's a whole bunch of reasons that I would say, but it all boils down to one thing, which is growth. I want to see the community grow stronger. I want to see businesses grow, and I want to see industry grow and grow stronger. So I would say it's really a matter of growth. Let's make our community grow and grow stronger in the process. And I really want to see our community be all that it can be. Every community has challenges, and we have ours. But I believe every challenge can be overcome. I've never seen a challenge that I didn't believe in my heart could be overcome with people working together and doing their best to move the community forward.
What do you bring to the table running for council?
I bring experience for certain. I bring passion for our community, and I bring kind of what I would say is a voice of championing this community. As far as experience goes, I've been on council before, been an MLA, I've been a minister for the province, so I bring those relationships and that background of understanding how the province works and how council works. I've been a mayor. I was the mayor for 4 years, and I really enjoyed that. Experience as a business owner. I've owned a law firm here in Fort McMurray. It was the Small Business of the Year with the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce, and I was proud to have that distinction. So I've got a lot of different experiences. I've certainly done things like run budgets. I've had staff. In fact, I had one of the highest budgets in the province when I was an MLA and a minister under Jim Prentice. He appointed me as the Minister of Post-Secondary Education.
That's a big portfolio if you really think about it. It's not the most flashy portfolio like the Minister of Energy, but I would argue that is in some senses, that's one of the largest, most important portfolios. I don't think we emphasize that enough in general. Like that's the future of the country. Or the province, I should say, the future of the province. What is more important than people? What is more important than education? So that I would argue that is the most important portfolio. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, it's a critical portfolio, absolutely. And I was proud to do it. It puts you in charge of every college and every university in the province, ultimately, and all their budgets. And it's more than just that, but that's kind of the core of it. And the budget for that is tremendous. And we had to make sure that things were looked after. And I was meeting with every university and every college in the province. And it was a great honor to do it. You
are presently the Executive Director or Chief Executive Officer of McMurray Métis.
Yeah, the Executive Director of McMurray Métis. It's been approximately 4 years. Once again, time flies.
Why is that important to build relationships with our Indigenous partners?
In this region in particular, we have a great many Indigenous groups that are extremely strong and have extremely effective voices. And I've developed relationships with, I believe, almost all of them over the years. Now, the leadership has changed sometimes, but I felt really passionate about learning about Indigenous people, the way of life, the background. And I've really enjoyed my time getting to know Indigenous people in all my leadership roles when I was an MLA and a minister. And certainly in my current role, I've been embraced by the elders. I've been dancing with elders, which not a lot of people can say. It's been one of the great honors of my life to do all those things and to really advocate and champion Indigenous issues.
I have noticed Fort McMurray, when it comes to safety, goes in ebbs and flows. But I feel like, how can we make the city so it feels safer for crime? It has gotten a little bit better as of late. But how do we handle crime in the region?
It's really part of the RCMP's responsibility. But we also have a bylaw at the city. So there are techniques that can be used to empower bylaw to take on more functions. But I really believe it's going to be advocacy with the RCMP and empowering the RCMP and letting the RCMP know where there's issues so that they can take action. Because I've heard the same thing, that there's difficulties in certain areas. So it's really talking to the RCMP leadership, letting them know, and seeing if they can address those issues in those areas, and encouraging residents to get together and report those issues to the elected leaders.
Now, the other thing, this is a personal issue for me, but as just a resident of Fort McMurray, it was a very close friend of mine was in the hospital. And then I looked down at my dog and I'm like, oh, you're sick. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be gone to Edmonton for 24 hours. I'll come back and I'll deal with my dog. I'll take my dog to the vet here. Unfortunately, I never got to do that because the vet told me, yeah, it doesn't matter what your emergency is, we can't accommodate you. So I rushed to Lac-La-Biche, who could accommodate, but if I had a do-over, I would have gone straight to Edmonton to Guardian, and that replays in my mind more often than I would like. I blame myself for not responding quickly, but my dog ended up dying. So we always hear about the vet shortage across Canada. However, in an emergency situation, there is zero problem getting a vet in Athabasca, Lac-La-Biche, or Edmonton. But in Fort McMurray, arguably the most important city in North America for the economy, we don't have emergency vet care. So what can we do to fix that? Because that was really hard for me. You know what I mean? Because if we would have had a 24-hour vet, I could have just done it here and probably saved his life.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear about what happened. And I've not just heard your story, I've heard several others. So this is not, unfortunately, unique. It's becoming all too common in this region. So I have several suggestions that council could consider. And one of them is waiving the registration fees for pets. And you might wonder, how does that help us? Because then that might encourage people to register their pets. And then what we do is a pet census. And then we are able to advocate to veterinarians across the country, especially young veterinarians, that this is a place where you could have an amazing practice, because look at how many pets are here. Right now, I don't think we've ever done a pet census. We're doing a human census right now, but that's not going to necessarily attract vets. The other thing we need to do is to start championing our needs. So getting out there, and if there's incentives that need to be offered, then we need to consider that. It's unfortunate, but sometimes incentives are the technique that are going to work to bring people into the community. Other communities offer various incentives. It's not only identifying a problem, it's coming up with solutions. And I think my solutions are not the only solutions. There are paths forward, we just need to start taking action.
What are you going to do? I'm talking the perfect council. You're all working symbiotically. Everybody's helping each other. They're there for the right reasons. They want to better the region. What is your vision?
We're going to be champions for the region. We're going to move the region forward effectively, reduce red tape, and we're going to implement strategies that will attract people, strengthen business, and attract business, and strengthen industry, and make sure that we're doing the best we can for the region. Whether that means going to Ottawa and advocating, whether it means going to Edmonton and meeting with the Premier to advocate, we're going to do all that is necessary to strengthen this region, no matter what it takes.
How can we be nicer to each other? It does seem like this region can get pretty attackish on our own. What can we do to be kinder?
I've observed that, and I've certainly felt the impact of it. I think people sometimes think they're lifting themselves up by attacking others. And what I would say is that that's not how it works. You don't lift yourself up by attacking other people. You lift yourself up by raising everybody. And that's what I would encourage people to consider as they go forward. It's a matter of asking how you would feel if someone treated you that same way. So I would encourage people to be kind, not only to their family, which we should all be, but to the wider community. We are in this together. We've been through a lot together. We've been through a fire, we've been through a flood. We are a community that needs to work together to get solutions. This is the greatest community in the world. There's no better place. Let's work together to make it even better and even stronger.
Why should we vote for you to be a councillor in Ward 1?
I want people to consider a few things when they go vote. I think experience is just one factor. And I think I have a unique experience. But I think the ideal council, after it's elected, will have some new folks and have some experienced folks. So it's a combination. That's what's going to make a strong council going forward. And a council that can work together to get things done. They need to be capable of constructive dialogue. I am capable of constructive dialogue. There's always challenges we're going to face as a region, as a community, but if we don't have people that can work together and are capable of working together, we're not going to get anything done. I'm a person that believes in this community. Whether I'm elected or not, I'll always be a champion of this region. And I would say that I bring experience, passion, and I love this place. And that's why I want to serve it in an even deeper way. And that's why I'm running. So please vote for me, Don Scott, on October 20th.
Thank you.